If you want to improve your deadlift performance and decrease your risk of injury, you need to warm up well before you pick up the barbell. Today, I'm going to show you the best deadlift warm-up routine called the Wenning Warm Ups.
Get up and get down, get up and get.
The Wenning Warm Ups is a routine of 3 different exercises performed for 4 rounds of 20 to 25 reps each. Today, I'm going to walk you through all those different exercises in the Wenning warm-ups, and stick around until the end because we're going to have a roundtable discussion on how you can best program these for your needs and your goals.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is prime the deadlift movement. So he's going to do a traditional swing, is just a hip hinge. This is awesome for getting the glutes and the hamstrings to fire, but we have an issue. It's not developing mobility that we may need to deadlift better. So what he's going to do is go into a squat swing and throw it just to his eye. He's going to go wider, so if he's a sumo deadlifter, I even like to use a sumo position for conventional. Now he's going to gain some mobility while he's swinging to get put in that perfect position to deadlift. So that is going to be huge. If you have minimal equipment, you can use the kettlebell swing as a potentiation warm-up for your deadlifts.
If you want to enhance your deadlift performance, warming up in a way that primes your glutes and hamstrings is key. Now, a single leg bridge is a quick, easy, and equipment-free way that you can hit and isolate these muscles prior to picking up the barbell. Now, single leg is also important because it can expose imbalances that sometimes you may not even realize are there when you're always in a double leg stance. So, single leg, pick the hips up, squeeze the glute as hard as you can, hold for a second, and then back down. We're gonna do 20 to 25 reps on each side, and if you're doing this correctly, your glutes and hamstrings are gonna be burning like crazy. A key part of proper deadlift technique is taking the slack out of the bar and engaging your upper back correctly. These bent over shrugs are an excellent warm up that you can do before picking up the barbell. Here's how you're gonna perform them. In this seated position, you're gonna take dumbbells or kettlebells and you're gonna perform some shrugs, not by trying to shrug upwards with your upper traps, but by trying to engage your mid back and your lats. So a cue that I like is to think about taking your scaps and putting them into your back pocket and pulling your shoulder blades together. Your upper back, your mid back, and your lats are going to be on fire if you're doing this correctly. 4 sets of 20 to 25 reps. Making sure, again, we do not over engage your upper trap, but this is going to be a similar motor pattern to taking that slack out of the bar, engaging your upper back correctly for optimal deadlift performance. All right, so you just got done with your deadlift Wenning warm-ups. The big thing that I want you guys to take away is that we have 3 different categories. We have one movement that's going to prime the hip hinge. For us today was the kettlebell swing, especially with a little bit more of a squat into it. We then did a hamstring dominant isolated exercise to hit a weak link that a lot of people have, which is their posterior chain. And then we hit our upper back, which is our rhomboids and our lats with the bent over shrugs, because that is going to really help prime posture. Now that leads us to the big part of this discussion, which is why is this warm up so important to prime that posture before you deadlift, and what ways in which you could maybe change up the 3 that we just did at the end. So first off, Matt, why is it so important to prime that posture before you even start deadlifting?
Well, in the last 20 to 30 years, 85% of the workforce has turned into sitting at a desk versus manual labor, whereas pre-1985, 85% of the workforce was standing up, moving in factories, doing construction type work. We just really don't do that much anymore. Priming those areas before we do spinal loading, based on the fact that we're trying to save the lower back, which we know is, I would underestimate 50% of the reason most people have to stop lifting and or retire is because of the lower back.
Yep.
But doing a little bit of preemptive work before the main lifts, I say that main lifts, especially like deadlifts, you need to earn to do.
Yeah.
But the problem is most people don't want to earn it. They just want to go to the sexy, fancy stuff. And that's why you need to build those warm-ups in, because it forces you to be in better position and saves you.
Now, Chad, what I want to know is, with all the different exercises we did, what are some different ways that you would maybe modify the different exercises to fit different things that you see athletes may need?
I don't know for the Olympic lifter that the bent over shrug would be as beneficial, because they're already good at kind of squeezing. They have, more mobility typically, but that would be the big one for me, is just understanding what does the elite powerlifter look like when they're pulling a deadlift from the ground? What does an elite weightlifter look like when they're in their start position? If an Olympic lifter needs better posture, so to speak, one of the things they can do is just get into a standing position and maybe do straight shrugs, but then also pushing the scaps down in the back pocket aggressively to learn to teach them that position that we want them to use in basically everything that you do in Olympic lifting. Another one that we do a lot of is, it's called a snatch or a clean pull-in. You're leaned over with the bar at the level of the top of the kneecap. That's a big transition point within the Olympic lifts. The bar is going to be out, and then you push it back in aggressively against your knee, and then relax. And then, you know, we'll do 5 to 10 reps for however many sets, depending on what we're doing. Typically, we'll pair that with the regular movement. We'll alternate back and forth. Another thing that you brought up, Matt, as we were just discussing off camera, was for weightlifters need a little bit more mobility than powerlifters. So some of these exercises could be mobility drills as opposed to, you know, activation. And I love that. I mean, you and I work on mobility.
That would be my big change on the warm up if I were to sit down and have a, 30, 40 hours to say, okay, you want to do this for Olympic lifting. How do you do this? My automatic mindset is we need way more mobility. And mobility is going to help get us in better position, safer. And so that's the exact same reason that we would do what we do for Wenning Warm Up on powerlifting. I would just utilize exercises or drills that would enhance that mobility property because you need more of it to do those lifts.
So maybe something that you could do would be have those 3 exercises, whatever they are, and then throw in 1 mobility drill rather than maybe doing 4 rounds of 20 to 25 reps. You have 2. That way you're still staying within that small time frame. You're hitting your movement, you're hitting a weak link, you're hitting a core, and then you're hitting mobility. Something like that, still get your timer out and make sure that you're hitting that 10 to 13 minute frame time. The Wenning warm up and the way in which we presented it today to everyone, it's a concept that then is going to evolve and change as you evolve and change and grow over time, to where the way in which you warmed up your 3rd year into lifting is going to be maybe very different than what you need to do in your 10th or 15th year of training. However, the concepts still remain the same. We want to prime the full pattern. We want to hit what weak links our body have at that time. And we want to make sure with most of the different core exercises that we're priming some sort of core stability before we then get under the bar.
And there's no developmental situation that's right or wrong. It's right or wrong depending on when you apply it. And that's where people have to start realizing, like, how I train, how you train. What's similar about us and why we agree on so many things is our age. We're both early 40s. We've seen many years of loading. We understand the good and the bad things that we've done. And luckily we've got out of it with minimal mileage, where most people our age are completely destroyed from the stuff that we've done. So the point is like, that's when you start realizing you want to listen to people that have gotten to a high level with minimal injuries and stayed at that high level for a fairly long period of time because they know something the average person doesn't know.
I think that's the key takeaway from all these warm-up videos that we have done, is that we have 2 elite lifters who have been at a high level of strength for a long time and have not had those big injuries take them out of the game. So when you have that amount of wisdom around, you want to listen to it. And the big thing that we continuously hear on all fronts is pay attention to your technique, pay attention to your warm-up. It's important. So even if you don't have a goal of being an elite powerlifter, an elite weightlifter, but you want to stay strong for your kids or your grandkids or just live a good functional life, and you want to do that for a long time, you want to take a very similar approach. This is something that across the board works for every single person, no matter your athletic pursuits, because it allows you to stay strong, fit, and injury-free for the rest of your life, which is what it's all about. All right, well, I think that wraps up our deadlift warm-up video. Be sure to go and follow both of these guys on their YouTube and Instagram. I'm gonna link their pages below in the show notes. But until next time, guys, happy deadlifting.
They say that energy flows where attention goes, so I pay no mind. Why waste my time with all these negative cats scratching? So caught up in their egos, these people have lost.